people who went missing, what happened? Serious replies only. I walked out of my life when I came home to find another man in my bed with my girlfriend. Spent a year hitchhiking, no missing persons report, no one looked for me, no one missed me. That blows. What have you done since? And if you don't mind telling, what was that year like? Honestly, haven't done much. Work enough to make ends meet, distract myself with video games, books, and the internet. Actually want to start a family now, but that would require an other I was significant to. As for the year, cold, hungry, and enlightening. I was about 6 years old. One day I was playing outside. There's a petting zoo about 4 kilometers away from where we lived, and I guess I decided to go there. So I did, by myself, barefooted, in my pajamas. When I got there, the manager found out I was alone and had reached my parents by phone. I don't actually remember much of it, but it's pretty hilarious. This reinforces my belief that children are basically just tiny drunk people. Be right back, Googling statute of limitations. Okay, we're good. When I was 16, I stole $5,000 and ran away to New Orleans. Before Katrina, when it was still fun. I'm old. Good times were had. When I was 4, I got lost in a city and was rescued by what my dad thought was a gang. We had dinner in Chinatown with another family, 5 kids in all. Crossing the street after dinner, we were holding hands in a big chain. My older sibling let go. When the light changed and everyone crossed, I stayed on the sidewalk. I was looking through a window into a barber shop where some huge guy was having his head shaved. Can still picture the scene. When I finally looked around, everyone was gone. I started to cry. A group of teenagers approached and asked if I was lost. I said yes. A tall kid hoisted me into his shoulders and started down the block. Other kids split up and went in different directions. We rounded a corner and I saw my dad. He turned white and ran toward us. The kid lowered me to the ground. A few other kids were there. They stood around awkwardly while the tall kid explained what happened to my dad. My dad, not a demonstrative guy, flung himself at the kid and hugged him. My mom appeared and picked me up. Years later, my dad told me he saw the same group of kids hanging around when he first parked in the city that evening and was suspicious that they were a gang. He was embarrassed and tried to be less judgmental after that. Wish I could thank those guys. This was a long time ago. That was actually really smart to put you on his shoulders. Sounds like a pro in the matter of recently lost children. It was winter break of my freshman year of college. I had just gotten dumped. I was depressed. I just wanted to be alone. I had a decent amount of money, so I rented an extended stay hotel room for 2 weeks, bought enough food and supplies for 2 weeks, shut off my cell phone, and didn't go outside for 2 weeks. When I returned home, my family yelled at me for several hours, and I had received over 200 phone calls and over 500 text messages. 10/10 would highly recommend. I probably wouldn't recommend this unless you hate your family. You're an asshole. Call your mom, tell her you're gonna be away for 2 weeks and to not try to contact. Simple as that. Your fucking family thought you were dead. I had a 12-day period of dissociative amnesia while I was in the USAF. I was doing laundry one Sunday night while waiting to start extra cleaning duty. I woke up 12 days later to my supervisor shaking me awake in my dorm room. No one saw me for those 12 days. No one heard from me. I was not a recluse. I was extremely outgoing and easily noticed. How I vanished for 12 days is amazing. Editing this to not have to reply to everyone. I was considered AWOL, got an Article 15 out of it, was medically separated with a $25,000 severance, and told by the USAF psychiatrist that I was useless to the USAF. I couldn't explain it, and through every pill I was prescribed and some therapy, they couldn't unlock my brain. It said that it does not happen to people who are in their older 20s, but it did. It happened the once. My brain scan showed that the hole everyone has is larger in yours kind of thing. I never looked into it, as I really don't want to know if I went to France and killed people as a transvestite, or just fucked off for 2 weeks. I had no reason to desert. I was in for over 6 years at that point. I'd been to PSAB, Saudi, South Korea, France, Spain, and was in Germany at the time. I fucking loved my time enlisted and would do it again. Please read the comments to see that I was a good airman and would not have deserted. I'd imagine talking your way out of being declared AWOL or a deserter was difficult. I think the creepiest answer to the question, what happened when you went missing, is I don't know. So, back when I was in Boy Scouts, my troop lost me, twice, in the same night while I was still in my tent. This is not an exaggeration, the story is thus. We were at Camp Decorah in Iowa. We had the idea to go and perform a raid on the counselors' tents and cabins. I, however, was feeling ill, so I specifically said, I'm not feeling well, I'm going to sleep. They acknowledged this, expressed regret that I was not coming along, and went to have their fun. They have their fun. They retreat into the woodline. Then they take a head count. I'm not in the head count. They expect expect me to be in the head count because they forgot. So now there is a missing camper. The entire camp is set to searching for me. Sometime during this, a guy from my troop decides to, get this, check the tents. I am in my tent as I should be, so he goes to report that I am found. I go to the bathroom during this time. Someone comes back to the camp and checks my tent. I am in the bathroom, so I am not in my tent. I am now missing again. I get found sooner this time. Edit, you Iowa people. I live in Manhattan, just north of Decorah. It's like 45 minutes away. I went sleepwalking one night when I was 10 years old, unlocked the front door and went for a stroll through the neighborhood. I woke up a few hours later in the middle of the street, barefooted, in a cul-de-sac I've never been in before. Scared the bejesus out of me. Ended up running through the streets until I found my way back home. My parents had been shitting bricks looking all over for me. They put a lock on my door after that, so I couldn't go for any more midnight strolls. My cousin once disappeared while sleepwalking. Her parents woke up in the night and she wasn't in bed. They searched the streets for her, but nothing, so they eventually called the police. The police asked them if they had checked inside the house. They hadn't. She had fallen asleep in the hall closet. I was hiking to see the volcanic eruption back in 2010, the one before all the grounded flights. On the way back, I got separated from my group. We were about 8, 10, one of which was a very good friend of mine. Anyway, I tend to walk pretty fast, especially on my way down from a mountain. This was in March in Iceland, so it gets dark pretty soon and fast. Unfortunately for me, I didn't have a torch on me, and in maybe half an hour, everything went pitch black. I had chosen to walk the same path as the one I went up. This was extremely stupid of me, as that path was about 5 meters away from a 15-meter drop into a canyon. Not only that, but the path was beside a waterfall. Waterfalls tend to have a lot of mist coming from them. Said mist goes onto the path, and because this is March in Iceland, and on a mountain it's about -5 degrees Celsius without wind chill. That mist turns to basically an ice skating rink on a 45 degrees angle. That was an experience. I had been lost for about 5 hours. I didn't turn up until I got down from the mountain, but I was one of 20 that got lost that Saturday, 2 of whom died. Icelandic SAR groups were quite busy that time. I was at a college house party. I went there with several friends. I didn't have a cell phone yet, managed to hold out until 2004. Our dorm rooms came with landlines at the time. I ended up going home with a guy and hooking up with him. Woke up the next day, checked my email on his computer, and found a ton of frantic emails from my friends. They actually thought that I'd been abducted, roofied, or killed myself. I was very depressed at the time. They filed a missing person report on me with campus security, and several friends were searching for me in the woods. Too long to read. My friends thought it was more likely that I'd gotten kidnapped than gotten laid. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up like this. Almost considered using a throwaway. To clarify, yes, I'm a woman, and I'm pleasantly surprised that there were so few PMs and comments calling me a slut. Stop it. Slut shaming is not cool. How do men expect to get laid if there aren't women who also want to get laid? Spoiler alert, we exist. When I was 17, I was suddenly and forcibly escorted from my room in the middle of the night and tucked away in a tiny town in the middle of nowhere, Utah. My parents had a vague idea of where I was and a lot of incorrect ideas about what was going on there, but no one else I knew, family, friends, etc., knew about it. I just disappeared off the face of the earth for 9 months. This is the most recent news to come out of the latest incarnation of that school. It would be shut down, then reopened in a new place periodically. Outside of the abuse, I learned some life lessons, the first of which is to never do that to my future child. But I got some crazy stories from that place, and sadly, being confined and cut off from the outside world was actually more freedom than I got at home. But yeah, came home and right away messaged my best friend for a tearful reunion as he assumed I was gone forever. 4/10 overall, definitely made me who I am now, but that place had some messed up shit. Yo. Edit. Here's a rundown of the industry is and what it does. I was living with my new husband in a town about 1,000 miles away from my mother, who has always been a world-class worrier. This was in the days before everyone had a cell phone. His entire family was going to be invading us in a few days, so I was polishing up the apartment to look good, and in the process of wiping fingerprints off the phone, I turned the ringer off and did not notice. We just moved in, so several days without any calls wasn't unusual. Fast forward. The in-laws have just arrived while I am lying down in the bedroom taking a nap because I have been spit-shined moonshining everything in the place and making tasty baked goods, all while coming down with a bad cold. There's a knock on the front door. My husband comes to the bedroom and says there's someone who wants to talk to me. It's the police, and they insist on talking to me alone in the hallway to make sure everything is really, truly okay. Then they tell me to call my mother. I come back in to see his parents, sister, brother-in-law, their 7 kids, and a passel of assorted aunts, uncles, and cousins, all staring silently at me. But wait, there's more. Mom didn't have our address. All she had was a description of the building. The town was small enough that the police knew just where that was, but they didn't know what apartment, so they knocked on every other door in the building before getting to us on the top floor corner unit. When I was a young lad, my brother and I used to go to this gymnastics play area. They had trampolines, those bars you swing around, and a tightrope over a pit full of pieces of foam. My brother and I decided to play hide and seek. I hid first. About an hour later, the place is closing. My mom asks my brother where I am. He says we're playing hide and seek, and I've hidden really well. 3 hours later, the staff have locked all of the doors and phoned the police. My mom was in a blind panic. My brother had given up on finding me and was bouncing on a trampoline. The staff were frantically tearing the place apart looking for me. My brother got bored of trampolining, so decided to play in the foam pit. He jumped in and heard a loud, "Ouch!" I climbed out of the foam and said, "Did I win?" We never went back to that place. Edited, misspelled brother. Damn, you are dedicated to the art of hide and seek. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, write what stories you know about people who went missing and what happened to them in the end. And don't forget to watch our other videos and subscribe to the channel. Hugs to everyone. Bye.